Keith, my man, how you doing?
How are you, my friend? Welcome to the lab.
It's nice to be in the lab, man. As an Olympian, always in the lab.
I'm excited to have you here, and I'm excited to have a wonderful conversation with you. Where are you joining us from today?
Sudbury, Ontario, my city.
So Drake calls Toronto his city, and this is your city, eh?
705, baby. That's how we do it. We the
The
North.
705. So when you moved from Jamaica, is this where you've raised your life?
That's right. It's crazy. I left Jamaica, I think it was 84 April. It was plus 26. I got my three-piece suit on. I was looking cute. Got my afro like Arnold from Different Strokes. I was pimping back then. I roll up. I showed up late at night. It was minus 26. Froze my little black ass off, man. I'm telling you. Even till August, I was still deep thawing. It was so cool. But I grew up here, and then I went to Vancouver for about 20 years. And in our culture, we say twice an adult, twice a child, once an adult. So my mom has reached the age where she needs some assistance, and I don't believe in bringing them into homes. So I want to make sure I'm here for every step of the way until she leaves the planet.
When you were running, you were quoted during the Olympic run, you thought of your father who had passed.
Yes.
When you came to Canada, Robert, did you come to Canada with your mother and father? Did he pass while you were in Canada?
Yes.
Yes.
Somewhere here. I think it was about 5 years later. I went to the doctors and come home, and they said he's got cancer in the liver. And I was like, so where you get that from? And he was working in the mine at the time. And I think the doctor says, oh, yeah, he got it in Africa. My father's never been to Africa. Just because he's black don't mean he's South African. Oh, yeah. So I wish my mom would have sued him, because it's something we know it's had to come from in the mine, right?
Sure.
I ain't going to say, oh, yeah, I got it from Africa. You didn't even know the man had never been to Africa. So that was the answer. But she left it alone. But yeah, nonsense. Some of these doctors, I don't know what's going on, but yeah, obviously that one was message to tell the doctor to do whatever.
How did Dad's death shape you? How did that impact you?
For me, it was quick, because the thing they said, they gave him 6 months to live. By the time they realized what was going on, I was still a child. And I think I was just reached grade 9 or grade 8, finishing up, going into grade 9. And the most difficult piece is watching my mom through that process, because my sister moved out. It was just her and I, and just journeying through every day, the crying, and the heartbreak. She loved this man with every fiber of her body, every being. Yeah. And for me, before he passed away, he says, I know you're young. Please always look out for her. Take care of her. So I took that very personal, and a personal responsibility to make sure I'm on that path. And he says, whatever you want to do in life, I don't care if you're going to be a president or you're going to be a criminal, please be the best at what you do. Don't half-ass it. Be the best at what you do. So if you're going to be a criminal, make sure you're good enough not to get caught. Or if you're going to be a doctor, be the best surgeons out there, right? Just be the best and put the work in to be the best. That's all I ask. And so other than that, I take that, and I'm always make sure I'm looking out for my mom. I'm a mama's boy, right? So I remember some of the days she comes home, and psychologically, physically, she's somewhat here, but she's lost, right? And I remember even at that young age, I learned how to cook very quickly, because she had to still keep her eating and take care of her, run her bath for her, because she used to do that for me, right? Whatever she needed, I make sure I'm there for her every step of the way till she got strong enough to say, okay, Robert, I love you. Thank you so much for getting me through that year, right? And from there on, she stepped up and be there every step of the way for me. But I felt that's something I had to do, because that's a promise I made.
Let's continue your journey. So your journey from a young athlete in Sudbury, you lost your father as a young man. What are some additional significant challenges that you faced along the way?
It was tough. I think it was 1988. After watching the Olympics, the Carl versus Ben Johnson thing, the Olympic fire lit within me. And I felt after the next day when the news hit, it was Jamaica disgrace Canada. Instead of the first day when Canada's all over the place, nobody heard of Jamaica until the drug bust. I started crying. I felt I wasn't Canadian yet, but I felt Canada throw Ben underneath the bus, start throwing Jamaica underneath the bus, because it's no longer Canadian anymore. He's Jamaican. But the night before it was all Canada. Nobody heard of Jamaica. So
Hmm.
I felt I had a responsibility on myself that I wanted to restore Canada's name and Jamaica's pride, right? And I went out and I found a coach in the city, the best coach there is in the city at the time, and hired him. But I did some fundraising to be able to afford him and went on the quest to become, I want to be an Olympian. So one of the challenges over that time, he became a mentor slash father figure to me. And as a child growing up and teenagers, sometimes you put your trust in someone, and
Hmm.
those are the one that's closer to you that will end up hurting you. So long story short, roll up in 1995, I realized my athletic career in high school was pretty much close to $40,000 a year. He was my manager at the time, funds coming in. We raised enough capital. I traveled the world in high school racing Carl Lewis, some of the world's fastest human being. I got dead last, but the experience alone was priceless, right? And
Hmm.
I'm traveling these places by myself in a sense at that age. So in 1995 came in, and one of the sponsors says, did you get all the stuff I sent you? I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. But the good news is I was hooked up with a lawyer, I think by grade 10,
Hmm.
and started learning from the lawyer and learning the fine print and the therefore and hands take away all the legal terms. And then there was a trust fund set up, right? Because by the time you set up a trust, the money flowed through the trust, checked off, everybody signed off and gone, right? So that way it protects me and the other ear in the tax department. The lawyer, Marciano, says, this guy's been stealing money. He says, what do you mean? He says, the sponsorship that come in, I don't see it. But then I'm hearing these guys sponsor me. So I fired him. And then I realized there's a man that I've trusted with everything. And the man stealing hundreds of thousands from me.
In many ways, probably replacing maybe that father figure in your life, and he's ripping you off.
Yeah. Don't forget, outside of my mother, I spend more time with this person
Of course.
than my own family. So when I'm not there, it's him. So he took advantage of the situation. I've got enough common sense and maneuver coming from Jamaica and learning the streets at an early age to maneuver. And I've got my lawyer now. So everything got to go through my lawyer. Wants anything, go to see my lawyer. My lawyer said no. I'm like, no. So the lawyer is my guide and protection and teaching me things on a bigger scale to look through the fine prints, in a sense. 95 rolled around, finished up. I rolling into 96. I said, listen, this is not going to work because I just heard some figure like $100,000 been disappear with sponsorship. Sponsors said they sponsor me, but I don't see the money. I said it's time to go. But what I will do is I'll give you a ticket and your flight and everything, all thing paid for to come to Atlanta to come watch me in the Olympics. I don't want no freebie, blah 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 blah. I said that's no problem because I guess he didn't think I was gonna make it anyway. So,
Hmm.
but I met him from day one. I told him I'm going to 96, and he thought it was a little kid chat. But my vision and my passions overdrive everything else. So I
Hmm.
went back and luckily I wrote everything that we do in practice. So now that became my blueprint. I knew when I got injured, what not to do. So I cut that out, what worked. And then I use that now as my template leading into Atlanta and start coaching myself and bypass some of those injuries and different things on the road path because I knew when I got hurt, why I got hurt, and now we're preparing for the Olympics. So that's what I used to be able to train myself to an Olympic gold medal, which at the time was the very first athlete to ever train himself into an Olympic gold medal.
Talk about, talk about the power of your vision. Did you know that your success was inevitable?
Yeah. But the crazy thing is, when I knew, like when I planned, like when I had that vision and that dream,
Yes.
I want to go right after that conversation with the Ben Johnson saga. I woke up and I remember they're putting a gold medal around my neck. And when I told my mom's all into education, right? So when
Hmm.
I told my mom, she's like, my baby's gonna be a doctor. My baby ain't no damn athlete, right? Right? And she's a nurse, and she gave up her dream to become a doctor. So she's
Yeah.
expecting me to fill that shoe. But I don't like needles, and I don't like blood, so I don't know how that's gonna work. But I had to convince her back then to allow me to do track because I put in my first written agreement that I'm going to be a doctor. And I said,
Ah,
doctor school costs a lot of money, right? And I'm going to get a scholarship to pay for doctor school. That is why she signed off on my first agreement. But she didn't know what kind of doctor I meant. I had to manipulate the situation to my advantage. And that's how I learned my first contract, by the way. I think it was grade 10. I signed my second biggest contract, which I know was with Nike. So before then, I think Kobe, Michael Jordan, and these guys were one of the few younger 16, 17 signing a contract with Nike. And that's how I learned the legal part of the laws and understanding contracts and all that stuff. Great to my mentor back then, my lawyer, Tomasiano.
let's continue your journey. Your dad passes.
Yeah.
You go through life, you have this vision that you're going to be an Olympic athlete, not only an Olympic athlete. So when I hear you talk about that vision, let's keep going down that path. So you find yourself a manager, he robs you along the way. You had a coach and then you got rid of your coach and you had to coach yourself.
That's right. And then after that, I went to the Olympic trials in 96, being amongst the top 10 fastest athletes in the world going in, because the standard we had to achieve was like 10:21, 10:23,
Yeah.
Olympic A standard. So
Yes.
we went 10:18 a few times. So there's 5 of us that all end up running the standard. Bruni Soren, Donovan Bailey, Glenroy Gilbert, Carlton Chambers, and myself. The rules were for the individual spot, top 2 with the standard and the finish line in the finals. Top 3 will allow the committee to select who will be the 3rd spot. And that rule went in place because sometimes we may have the 1, 2, 3 fastest man on the planet, and there's an injury may happen, and if the number 1 global guy, it protects them to get the 3rd spot with a medical card, which the Olympics about a month later to get back into shape. That is why that 3rd spot is selected by the committee, just in case. And then the US, we know it's top 4, that's it, right? Top 3. And then the relay, top 6, top 4 automatically. Top 5 and 6 could come from the 100-meter, 200-meter hurdles, or other athletes who determine they're going to specialize in other events, but they has to run the 100 that year to be re-ranked, to be selected part of the relay squad. I walked into the Olympic trials coming off a car accident, couldn't breathe in the finals. I asked for some help, chiropractor work to realign my adjustment. Up to today, they didn't even touch me, because if they did, I would have won that race, and they know that. I'm like a Vegas wild card you bet against. Anything you do, don't bet against me. I'm that type of guy. But I went to the start and I said, sir, I can't breathe right now. I can't get into the set position. He says, Robert, we love you, but the rules are the rules. You must be on your mark position. I went to a lot of churches growing up. 7 days on Saturday, 7-day Adventist Saturday, Baptist on Sunday. I got enough Jesus running through my vein, my man. I'm at Sunday school on Monday, Wednesday. I got a lot of church. I looked up to the sky and said, Jesus, don't fail me now. This is the time where I need you to show up for me. I can't move. I can't run. I know I have a big mouth, but I'll calm that down if you allow me to make this team, right? I remember the gun went, and the first 40 meters of the track is resurface. I was dead last coming out the blocks. I'm like Forrest Gump, dead last, right? Molasses coming through. Soon as I crossed that 40-meter mark to the other side of the track, I felt my whole body start lifting up, like the spirit raising me up, man. My legs start lifting high like I'm smoking weed, like Snoop Dogg up in there, man. And then my legs start moving like Jesus Lizard underwater. And then boom, I passed into 7th place guy. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm running out of real estate. Moving to 6th place. I'm like, I'm running out of real estate. Boom, I dipped in the line. I got 5th. I started jumping for joy. And so happy cries, and people looking at me. This kid lost. What the hell is he crying for? But I made the relay team. The dream is still alive.
Yes.
I didn't make the 100-meter, which I automatically thought I was going to make the 100-meter. Because the other crazy thing is that you should understand. In 1990, well, 88, I had the vision. I came up with a poster that says 9.6 hand time, which equals to 9.84. So on my poster, it says 0 to 100 in 9.84. What do you think won the Olympics in 1996?
It was 984.
984.
Yeah.
My time.
Yeah. You know what I love about your story, Robert, is that we always and often focus in sports on winning the championship. And then when we get into real life, we lose sight of the process of finding the way of joy in the process. We talk about the Business Athlete Performance Lab. Performance is about enjoying the process. And it's clear to me that from the moment you said, I'm going to get myself a gold medal, and while, yeah, you had your ups and downs, you enjoyed the process because of, and this right here is the best example of that. You didn't win fuck all, but you won a spot on the relay team, and it's the process, right? You still hadn't won anything yet, frankly.
No.
You hadn't achieved anything yet. Yes.
Right. And the crazy thing is, I went back home and from Sudbury, there was one media guy. He was just trying to kill my dream. He was a dream killer.
Yeah.
He's, oh, you suck. You know, you make no team, blah, 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 blah. And I'm looking at this little guy. I'm like, who the F are you? What the hell did you do? Oh, yeah. I was so pissed, my friend. I turned into Hercules. I picked the table up and boom, threw it. And that time I started crying because of passion now. This man just, I'm ready to hold him by the throat. And I'm not even a violent guy, right? I was so pissed. I said, I'm going to take the gold medal when I get back. I'm going to shove it up your, I was, and he's looking at me like, you're crazy. Somebody call the cops on this guy. I was so pissed and so passionate. And I take that and I bottle it up. And I said, all right, I'm going into Atlanta. I'm coming back with my friggin' medal. I'm going to tear it. Oh, yeah, I was so pissed. I even make the clarity even more clear. But I still continue to pray.
You talk about the quietness in that race when you won gold, as you were thinking about dad and not hearing anything and just staying focused.
For me, I've always thought the major games, and I think that's why I do very well, is it's about the psychological part. It's who's mentally strong, whose purpose, whose why is so strong, can control the narrative. And John Drummond is a phenomenal competitor. He's one of the fastest men out there on the block. But I chose that every time I come in contact with this man, I'm going to hold him by the balls and squeeze it. Right? I got to, because he's a energy guy, captivate by the crowd. Once that energy unbottled for him, he's on fire. So I have to recontrol the crowd every time I go there and come up with a way to say, it's my crowd. It ain't yours. I'm an energy guy too, right? So I refocus it and manipulate the situation to take the crowd back onto my side at all the time. So that way I know I have them silenced. And I remember I did the haircut and everything, and the crowd is on my side now. The media is on my side. They forgot about who John Drummond is. So right now I already have him in the palm of my hands. And I said to myself, when I got into the blocks, I said, Dad, I didn't have a chance to raise you as a child, so this is it. Every child, every boy would love to raise their father. And I said, here's an opportunity. I know you're watching. I know you're here. I feel your presence. Why don't you go into the blocks ahead of me? So he didn't know I wanted my head, right? Because I want to get on the inside of him and make my move. I don't want him to see me coming. So I placed him up there. I said, you go up in that lane and let's have a start. So everything that I'm doing, I'm not thinking about the crowd. I'm not thinking about what's going on. I'm thinking about, I'm going to race my father. Keep me relaxed, keep me focused. And then I'm going to tune in my left ear, my satellite dish, to the gun in the infield, right? Because what I always notice as well, when I'm running that race or those races, I'm thinking beyond the regular athletes because I'm not regular. I'm unleaded supreme, right? So when I'm thinking, when I'm running, I'm setting up situation to give myself an advantage to always be ahead. I position my block in a certain angle so that way, yes, there's a corner, but I run the corner into a straightaway because every circle, there is a straight line if you do the marker right, right? I position there. I know when the gun fire, everybody's going to hear bang, but the gun actually fire because that's the aftermath when the gun fires, you hear bang, right? So if I can click my ears and hear the chamber coming, I can catch it. And if I can catch it, by the time these guys react, I'm already ahead, taking advantage because once again, John is faster than me on leg, but I'm faster here and can control that piece. So I remember going in and said, the starter says, on your mark. Right? I jump in and I think of a pen, an old school pen with the coil.
Mhm.
If I can take my muscles and I can make it dense and hold it, and also control the crowd, by the way, and the starter, because everybody popped up in their set position. So when the starter says set, I'm the last to move, and I make sure I am the last to move so they can hold it longer. And guess what? The crowd must watch, and not must, but the crowd always watches the person who's moving the last. So that means the camera is going to be focusing on me. Hey, the starter is going to focus on me because I am the star. I choose that day. I will be the story and I will be the star. So everything that I'm planned out, it start coming together for my walk onto the track the first time. So now I'm in the set position. So that means less weight. So by the time I come out, I heard the gun, boom, might be 8, 9 strides. I'm gonna take up the first runner, which is Daddy, right? And I didn't hear the crowd because I'm focusing on my dad, and I'm focusing on Glenroy now. You know, 'cause I do it in stages: set, the starter, gun. I'm focusing on that. Go or the gun. I'm focused on my daddy. Past my dad, I'm focusing now on Glenroy. Right now, I come around the corner, and I'm in high lifting. Still nothing about the crowd. I'm just me looking for that hand target. And we came in and we say, hi, because you know all the other idiots saying stick. Just like the movie Lost in Translation. Stick, we kept it there, boom, give it to him right here. I want to leave this much inches, 6 inch. So when he pass it off, he give it 6. So that means we're gonna save some time. Those 6 inches add up to this amount of distance. And you know we can win a race by a strand of your hair, right? So I gotta
Mhm.
create that distance, right? And then I saw him put his hand back. I kept running because I want to make sure it's locked in, it's safe, I can see it, and boom, give it to him in a FedEx style manner. Bam! Drop it in there, wait till he grab it, release it, and then I put my hand up, let the guys know it's coming, it's safe. And that's when the crowd kicked in like Kramer. I was like, holy shit. Right? It went ballistic up in there, man. And I saw him on the back stretch, the muscles popping up. My other teammates, Bruni, is a nice 6 foot tall, dark chocolate, speak French. Bonjour, bébé. That was very romantic, but he has a lion on his chest. When the animal woke up, man, oh man, I was like, it's over, it's over, it's over. And then you have Donovan Bailey, the new world record holder, long legs like a 50-foot stretch limo opened up. It was over, man. You know,
When you
so
handed off, did you know it was over?
for my hand it off, I knew it's over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's coming. Delivery. Yeah.
Some might say that you went from being an accidental legend because you weren't expected to run in that race to an inevitable legend. This was planned out all along.
From day one. What I didn't plan is all the dramas and all the crap in between. We can't plan those.
That's what makes the story as inspiring as it is, though. You had to overcome circumstance.
Yeah.
You still had to go through the process and overcome obstacles along the way to achieve something, which I think also perhaps leads to my next question. What's the burden of that?
I don't know. I never really looked at it as a burden. So for me, as a child, there's three things that I always wanted to accomplish, and I don't waver. One of them was to become an Olympian. That was the first option, and I knew what's going to happen is my first 25 years of my life, I'd make a lot of sacrifice for that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
The second piece that I wanted as a child was to be a father,
Mm-hmm.
not any regular father. I want to be the best father on the planet. And I
Mm-hmm.
know that's going to require another 25 years of my life of sacrifices. And I'm still on that path. I'm on my wind down now soon. And the third piece is I wanted to be a businessman. And I wasn't 100% sure what that looked like. But as I get older and wiser, like fine wine, I realize it's not about the money in a sense, because I know the money will be there.
Mm-hmm.
It's about how can I change the world and leave a legacy behind. And
Hmm.
part of that process was creating my son, right? And I feel like if I can change one life per day or make someone smile per day, I'm in the right direction. Part of that legacy when my son, his name is Nehemiah from the Bible, to change the world, one of God's favorite disciple. But not
Hmm.
only that, his middle name is Lion, is to take over the earth. The baddest animal is the lion. So I want them to be strategic. And I teach them that sky's the limit. Do not put limitation on what you're capable of and to love all, which he's a guy love everybody. But I have to tell him to be careful because people could go try to kidnap him because he's that lovable. But overall, I felt that was part of the legacy if I should leave this world and give him enough tools to make decision. And the last piece is I'm in a situation where now I can impact the world in a global space by creating critique for them and put world's experts in knowledge and expertise. Because when we look at the gravesite, there's a lot of knowledge and expertise died sitting there. And I'm like, I want to captivate and take these mind and share it to the global mass and help people. And that's is where I'm at now. And the last piece of my journey of if I should die today, can I leave a legacy that could live on forever and change the world in some capacity? So those are my three biggest visions, and not necessarily burden, but I guess something that I would love to leave behind as the legacy.
When I speak of burden, when I speak with other athletes here in the lab and they speak of achieving great accomplishments, standing on a stage in front of 20,000 people, having an identity as one thing, as an athlete, and then trying to transition to the next stage and next part of your life. Now, clearly, you have transitioned well from an athlete to a coach and a father. And I think I'm perhaps answering my own question because you said something at the beginning of our chat that when you decided to become an Olympian, you had to go raise money.
Yeah.
You were a business person as a young man, right from day one with this vision in mind.
Yeah.
So it really was never about being a burden. It was about starting a business as a young man, achieving that greatness of winning the gold medal,
Yeah.
and then taking that. And that was my business for the rest of my life. And then embracing that, right? Would that be
Yeah.
fair for me to say?
Absolutely. Somebody will said to me, said, no matter what jobs I've taken over the years as a child growing up, each job is an education for me. It's a,
Yes.
it's the way I learn, and it's hands-on. Right. So from the first day with the lawyer, I'm a student. As an athlete, I'm a student. My job is I love speed. I'm fascinated about speed and I want to learn more. So I'm a student at all times.
Is that your edge, being the student, Robert, would you say, against others? Is because you were a student?
Yes, and I think I relish the fact that I like to start from the bottom and get to the top. And once I'm on the top, right, I can create waves and movements. But to be able to lead, you have to learn.
Yes.
No
Wow.
matter what I do. And I take that in all aspects of my life. I don't mind even taking on a brand new journey, but please let me start from the bottom. And I move very accelerated quickly. Right? I'm a visual, hands-on type of person. Let me learn it. How can I make this better? How can I make this system better? And then own it after that. And now I can teach and minimize people's mistakes along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I've always learned from my elders, and that's why my sister didn't care much for me too much because I didn't get in trouble a lot with my mother because I watched the mistakes she made and don't make that same mistake. So I
Yeah.
can.
Robert, you transitioned from athlete to coach. You successfully run a business, a critique. What would be advice you would offer to a transitioning athlete, to a transitioning business leader who is wondering how they're going to achieve their next?
Well, one of the most difficult things for an athlete is to transition from an athlete for how many 20 something years
Mm-hmm.
and go into the workforce. I ain't gonna lie to you, it was a culture shock. It was a shock to my system because I'm going from a big chip. You're working how many hours and you get a big paycheck at this time, a sponsorship deal. So it puts six figures in your pocket right away, whatever. But now you're going for transition to a regular minimum wage job. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
what? And then all of a sudden you see the government took half of your paycheck. I was like, what? Yo, I lost it. I couldn't handle it for a while. And that's why I started developing the last off business on the side. Right?
Yeah. Well,
Because
and
now,
that's what I think a lot of people don't really understand or think about is that we go from putting these athletes on these big stages. You're on the biggest stage in the world. You won an Olympic gold medal. Now you're bitching about your taxes on your Canadian.
it was scary, my friend. And that's part of the reason why I fumbled into coaching. And then I'm working with a lot of sports chiropractor. So I'll do
Mhm.
workshop around the world and clinics. And so that way I can see that big paycheck. Right. And then I realized, oh, okay, all right. If I'm going to trade time for money, I have to be comfortable with the money at hand because I'm going to love what I do and passionate and I'm going to be very good at what I do. And, but it has to make me feel good because I'm making them money. And that's how I end up. I was lucky to, I think, maybe have three jobs, but three passionate jobs. I started out for Zani Group. I went in, I brought the department $1 million in 3 months, and the VP of Fazani flew in and said, "Who are you? What's going on? Why are you making so much money for us?" And I said, "You got to love people." I tell them the truth. I show them my technique, and we changed the whole culture of the company based on that. So I did that for about 2 years, and I said, "I want more money," because I realized I made them millions of dollars. He says, I said, no. I said, they pay me what I want or I walk. A lot of them always think I'm bluffing. So guess what? I walk. I
Mhm.
can still have my side business where I can do as a full-time business. I only do it because of my love and passion. I didn't want to do it as full-time. So I took time off and do that for a while. Then I got back into another company and a medical company. Don't know anything about medical. I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't have my biology, all that stuff, but I understand a bit of biomechanics. And I went into the interview after the 2010 Olympics, right? And at the end, I had a test that I had to do. I had 5 out of 10 of the biomechanics and anatomy. That's not my expertise. So I said, listen, let me come back tomorrow and write the test. So now the owner is in there, the VP, and the other VP that looking to hire me. We went into the meeting, and I did the test, and I got 7 out of 10. So they said, "You sure you want this guy?" I said, "Listen, man, I'll make you millions. You just don't know who I am." He goes, "You're gonna be talking to doctors and surgeons all the time and stuff, right?" So that's not a problem. I'm a speed doctor. Right? I'm like a chameleon. I blend it. He looks at me and says, "You know what? Let's hire this guy. I think we got the right guy." Because I think that store that I went into, they fired about 7 managers within a matter of 5 years. So nobody lasts long there, right? So I went in there and run it for 7 years till I moved back, right?
Yeah.
And part of that was I can set up my own franchise on the East Coast when I moved back. So those all lessons of learning where I feel don't worry about all that stuff, the noise. I'm good at what I do. Let me run it like a business. Let me run it passionate. But most importantly, let me run it that you care about people. And if you do that, the money is there.
When we talk about transitioning from athlete to business world, there's going to be a process involved.
Absolutely.
You got to love the people you're working with to make it fun.
Absolutely. And trust along the way. And sometimes trust is a very difficult thing to do. And within that process, understand this. And people, please understand this. There's going to be haters.
Yeah.
There's going to be people who feel like they can do a better job than you, who want to try to move you out the way. But remember, when I teach, I only teach 90%. Because if one day something happens to me, they can try to run with it. But that 10%, that's the game changer I don't give up. That's me. I leave at 10%. So make me valuable.
Let's chat about the next chapter. So you proudly spoke about the first chapter in your life,
Yeah.
becoming an Olympian. You're talking about your ongoing chapter right now, being a father and being in business.
Oh, yeah.
What personal growth development goals are you setting for yourself?
I've partnered up with some of the best in the business. Now it's launchcritique.com, the marketplace where people can go and find expert all over the globe. They want to learn podcasts, they want to learn television, they want to interior designer. I don't know what to do with my place. Instead of me go hire an interior designer to come take a look and charge me $3,000, I can find a HET specialist that can break it down for $100 and send it back to me just like that from the comfort of my phone. Those are the things that I wanted to be able to do and says help on a global stage. So now this is where the legacy going forward. And for me as a company, I'd like to see within the next year and a half, it's the standard of feedback globally. This is the masterclass of quick, short, condensed feedback to help world's expert without going through a whole bunch of different areas of learning. It's a different area you can learn from. You can learn from YouTube. You can read a book. That's fine. But this is accelerated learning and minimizing you making mistakes. You're working on an app, see one of our developers show up your video or your screen. They'll break it down and send it back to you within 2 to 3 minutes. It's done. critique.com, baby. See, boom, how you like me now?
Robert Esme, thanks for joining me today live in the lab. I would love to have you back for round 2.
No problem, my friend. I'm here for you, Keith. Make
Awesome.
sure you get some nice music up. I like your intro music to it. A little bit of old school.
That's it. Exactly. Yeah. We're the same demo, man. We're the same demo. So listen, I'm going to throw you off into the green room for a quick second. If you can hang on while I say goodbye to the audience, and I'll come back and walk you out the door. I'm Keith Billis. I'm the host of Live in the Lab, rerun Monday to Friday here on LinkedIn, X, and YouTube. We'll see you tomorrow at noon. Ciao.